And as we were talking, I pulled up my boy Richie Rohr,
Okay.
Richard.
R.
Yeah.
Double R.
But he's talking about this idea of like that God uses love and suffering, and that there are universal paths for each of us to change.
How does God use suffering?
I'm scrolling and thinking.
He's scrolling.
Because like I would like
Like
I don't have a like he doesn't directly answer that in the quote. He says that 2 universal paths of transformation have always been available to every human being God has created, and that's great love and great suffering. These are offered to all, and they level the playing field of all the world religions. Only love and suffering are strong enough to break down our usual ego defense, crush our dualistic thinking, and open us to the mystery. In my experience, I'm just reading off the cuff, so they like nothing else exert a mysterious chemistry that can transmute us from a fear-based life into a love-based life.
And he talks about how the opposite of love is suffering.
No, he doesn't say that.
No,
I'm saying we equate the opposite of love as suffering.
Gotcha.
And we say that anything that we're suffer through,
yes,
God's not using, or that's the devil.
Yes.
We take scriptures like the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. I have come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. So this is just a whole nother whole nother conversation. Because I believe that, so God comes that we have life and have it more abundantly. So anything the thief steals, kills, and destroys.
Yes.
So that growing up
Uh-huh.
was like anything in my life that robs from me, steals from me, is not from God.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying God is doing those things.
Right.
But I believe that suffering is a part of life.
Right.
That can lead us to transformation.
Right.
The other thing is great love.
Right. So what I'm hearing right now, though, is that like you growing up, and we've talked about this we so badly want the world to be very dualistic.
We do.
Right?
It's another one of those gumball machines. It's easier.
Right. Of where we want to know good and bad. But what we also do is like in our everyday lives, we want to be able to say this was God or this was Satan.
Yeah.
Like
I just got struck with something.
Give it to me.
Because you had said like, well, something about like why like suffering is from, how is suffering from God?
Mm-hmm. I said how, it was a question of how does God use suffering?
All I can think about right now is the cross. There was great suffering through Christ's crucifixion.
Mm-hmm.
But was that the devil doing it to him?
Mm-hmm.
Because he talked to Pontius and he said that like, you have no power over me.
Mm-hmm.
So he, and in the garden, says, let this cup pass, but if this is your will. Yep. So Christ endures suffering.
Yes.
For change.
Yes.
Now we don't have to, like, I think that is off. Is this right or wrong that we use that? Well, because Christ endured that suffering, we don't have to suffer.
Right.
Anything.
Right.
Or that's an example where there is a passage through suffering that leads to life.
Well, I think that what you just said is a lot of people would say that because Christ went through this, we don't have to go through eternal suffering.
Sure.
Right?
Right.
But that doesn't take away from today.
Yeah, and we could look at the Psalm 91, famous Psalm, right? Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me.
Yes.
The scripture says he's a very present help in times of trouble. It doesn't say times of trouble will not come.
Right. Correct.
What we do in an unhealthy way is like we find ourselves in the moment of the shadow of death, in the moment where we experience loss, where we don't know what's going to happen and we don't know what to do. We don't have the answers. And we say, why? And then we just like, we're going to fall over in that shadow.
So whenever I have any kind of stress, anxiety, doubt, okay, or anything bad happens in general, right? I think it's very easy to like fall back. And honestly, it's kind of comforting to fall back on this idea of like, this is an attack. This is an attack of the enemy on me right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But what we're talking about right now is that could not necessarily be true.